How's it going, you big beautiful bastards? Welcome back to another career sim. Today we have a rather large left-handed quarterback by the name of Scott Mitchell. So to be fair to a lot of people, I didn't know who Scott Mitchell was going into this. You guys might have, but I did not. I had to look him up. Come to find out, he's the all-time leader in passing yards and passing touchdowns at Utah, which kind of surprised me because that was in like the 90s, and I feel like Utah's been pretty good over the past couple of years. I thought Cam Rising might have had that, or Carson Rising. I think it's Cam Rising. It is Cameron Rising. And that and Alex Smith played for Utah, so I figured one of those guys would have had it, but come to find out, it's Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell was a 4th round pick in 1990. He was also Dan Marino's backup for the first 3 years of his career, then went to Detroit, where he set a single season passing yards and touchdowns record for Detroit in like 1994. Those records were later broken by a guy like, I don't know if maybe you guys have heard of him, but his name's Matthew Stafford. He's a rather large man. He's 6'6", he's 249. I did give him a little bit of a boost. He's a projected 2nd round pick. I gave him an X factor. I made him throw the ball away, but he's kind of normal on penalties and average. I also want to start making these a little more realistic. So he is 24 going into the draft, which is what age he was when he was drafted. I want to start going by the actual age the players were when they were drafted, with a little bit of the boost I gave him. Instead of him being a projected 4th round pick, he is actually a projected 2nd round pick. We are going to jump right into the draft, and sadly for whoever decides to draft him, they are going to lose their starting quarterback. He's the highest rated quarterback left on the board as we go into the 2nd round. Let's see who decides to take him moving forward. Okay, I actually really like this. Scott Mitchell is going to the New Orleans Saints, where I'm not really going to have to get rid of a quarterback. He might just be the starter off rip there because I don't use updated rosters, so Derek Carr isn't there yet. This is actually my 2nd time recording this video. The first time the file corrupted about an hour in, and I didn't realize before I was 2.5 hours in and he had retired. So, you know, we're going through for the 2nd time. First time he was drafted by the Packers and I traded Rodgers to the Jets. This time he goes to the Saints though, which might make it a little easier on me. The Saints, funny enough, picked up Baker Mayfield, but Scott Mitchell is still the starter. You get Kamara still at running back, Chris Olave. You get, who is this actually? This is Richie James Jr. Okay. There's a 63 overall Tavon Austin on this team. You also still get Adam Troutman here. So as we sim through his rookie season, I do want to stop and just say thank you to everyone. The 2005 sim and everything did great. The channel is up to around 650 subscribers right now, and that's a big deal to me. So thank you everyone for that. And while we're here, I will say feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you guys want to, and if not, that choice is always yours. Thank you for watching the video. So going through this, I do want to say another thing. I'm trying to enunciate a little better. I noticed rewatching the 2005 sims, I stumble over my words a lot, and that is credited to the fact that I talk too fast a lot of the times. Like, my brain can't keep up with how fast my mouth is trying to move. So I'm trying to work on that. So hopefully I stutter a little less in this. Hopefully I'm a little more on pace this entire video. In his rookie season, to my surprise, they make the playoffs. They go 10-7 as 3 teams from the NFC South make the playoffs. Scott has a pretty good season, already breaking his real-life records with 4,800 yards and 34 touchdowns. Awards, I don't think that's going to be MVP worthy, as Patrick Mahomes has that. But we can go look at this. As NFC Offensive Player of the Year is Cooper Kupp. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Scott Mitchell. He beats Jackson Smith and Jigba and Will Levis, along with AR-15 and Dalton Kincaid. We can also take a look at Best Quarterback, as he is not number 1 in that. He is 7th, as he's up to an 80 overall in his rookie season. So we actually get a playoff game in his rookie season as they play the Dallas Cowboys. As the Cowboys continue their years and years of mid-playoff performances, the Saints sent them home in the wild card round and win 34-20. Scott Mitchell threw 232 and 2 touchdowns. The Dak's 312 and 2 touchdowns. Dak ended up throwing 2 picks, whereas Mitchell threw none, which should give him a pretty good passer rating of 115. Receiving, you had Chris Olave with 63. You also get Richie James Jr. with 54 and 2 touchdowns. A lot better than Scott Mitchell's real-life career, where his first 3 seasons he sat behind Dan Marino in Miami before going to Detroit in year 4. Yeah, this one might not be as good. He's playing a pretty damn good defense in San Francisco in the divisional round. Brock Purdy currently has the Niners up 38-20, 45-20, and that is where the game will end as the Saints score one more time to make it 45-27, but the Niners send Scott Mitchell home in the divisional round as he threw 316 and 3 touchdowns to Purdy's 230 and 3 touchdowns. Scott threw 1 interception, which probably really didn't make a difference looking at the fact they were down by like 25 going into that last drive. Receiving wise, once again, you had Chris Olave with 76. You had Deontay Hardy with 114 and a touchdown, but it still wasn't enough to put this team into the NFC Championship game. As we go into his sophomore season, Mitchell is up to an 82, Kamara is a 91, Chris Olave is an 89, Richie James is still here at a 79. They signed Darius Slayton, and now they have Logan Thomas at tight end. So the team is still about the same. The tight end got a little worse. They should still make the playoffs realistically based off of how they did last season, but this is also a Madden simulation where you never know what's going to happen because Madden is very inconsistent. I'm gonna start trying to get 2 videos out a week from now on too. I'm hoping to still have this one up by Thursday, even though I have to re-record it. I was hoping to be editing this video by now, but now we're here and I have to re-record it and then start editing it. As once again, the team is back in the playoffs. This time they won the division and they will play the Bucks, as once again 3 teams from the NFC South made the playoffs. Scott this year had 5,100 yards and 43 touchdowns, which should put him more in the MVP conversation than before, as he is in 5th. He doesn't win any awards though, as he is 3rd in the best quarterback race. He didn't get Offensive Player of the Year, but now we go into the wild card round where he will play the Bucks after having his best season so far, but we're only 2 years in, so I'd hope he did better than his rookie season. And it's looking like in the wild card round they are going to go home this season, as the final score is 27-24. They scored late with 2 minutes left to make it that. It was 27-17. So far he did manage to win a wild card game, but he falls short this year, losing to Taylor Heineke, who threw for 361 and a touchdown, as he threw for 250 and 3 touchdowns. Heineke even threw 2 picks and still got the better of him, as Scott threw for 1. Receiving wise, Richie James Jr. is popping off, as he had 105 and a touchdown. You had Chris Olave somewhere down here with only 32 yards. Going into year 3, Mitchell has his X factor, which is Bazooka. He's an 85. Kamara's a 91 and lost his gold. Olave now has an X factor at a 92. Darius Slayton is now receiver 2. Richie James Jr. is down to receiver 3, and now they have another new tight end, as they have Friedman here. Once again, it's just about the same team. They should make the playoffs once more in year 3, and in year 3 they finally fall short of the playoffs, actually having the number 6 ranked passing offense, number 22 overall. Figured at some point they'd have to. They always go that way. They can't make it every year, as he had 4,800, almost 4,900 yards and 35 touchdowns. Once again, no MVP, not even in the conversation this time, which most likely means he's not best quarterback. I don't know if he's even going to be on this list, and he's not. Now we sim forward to his 4th season, where it's potentially the last year of his contract. Going into year 4, Scott is now up to an 87. They lost Alvin Kamara. They now have Coles. You got Chris Olave still. You get Cortland Sutton now. Okay, the receivers got stacked. And Friedman is still here, but losing Kamara is going to hurt. I didn't see that one coming. And like I figured, after losing Alvin Kamara, the offense is actually ranked the worst in the league. The passing offense is 22nd, as Mitchell probably had one of his worst seasons to date. He throws for 4,429 touchdowns, which isn't very bad, but not very good. Obviously not going to be MVP, but we'll see. Calvin Fowler, as like none of the normal candidates are up here. There's no Mahomes. There's no one. Saquon's even on here. There's no Burrow. There's no T-Law. Like that's a pretty weird season. Now we go to year 5, where potentially he could leave. I don't see it really happening because it almost never happens. It's happened once. Eli did leave after 4 seasons, but we'll see what Scott Mitchell decides to do. I was right. Scott did re-sign. He's an 88 overall now. Let's see what his contract is looking like. He ends up re-signing on a 4-year deal worth $74.9 million, basically $75 million. In 2030, he makes $31.5 million. Coles is now up to an 83, as we still are missing Alvin Kamara, sadly. Chris Olave's up to a 95. Cortland Sutton's still here and regressed down to an 84, and Friedman is now up to a 78. So the offense is at least better. They have a chance. After having the 32nd ranked offense last season, though, I'm not expecting too much from this team. And in year 5, they once again missed the playoffs, going 6-11, but the offense did jump basically to the middle point of the league with the 16th ranked offense. 21st ranked passing offense, though, as Scott continues to struggle. Scott threw for 4,535 touchdowns with a 91 passer rating. Again, not MVP, but still better stats than he had last season, as there's Patrick Mahomes winning an MVP, and there's Joe Burrow in 3rd. Lamar Jackson is now the quarterback of the Steelers, because that just makes sense, right? Now in year 6, he's lost his X factor now, as he's an 89 overall. Coles is up to an 85. Chris Olave just keeps getting better, as he's a 97. Cortland Sutton keeps getting worse. They don't really have a solidified receiver 3, and Friedman is also getting better, as he's up to a 79. So in year 6, for the 4th year in a row, they missed the playoffs, going 4-13, as they were 18th in passing offense and 22nd in total offense. The team is not doing great. Losing Kamara kind of hurt. Scott ended up with 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 14 picks, with a 63% completion percentage and a 95.2 passer rating. Calvin Fowler is once again MVP, with Tua in 2nd and Josh Allen in 3rd. Scott Mitchell is nowhere near the top 10, which isn't surprising. As we go to the NFC, we can look at best quarterback, which I bet you he's not here either, and he's not, as Jalen Hurts is a starting quarterback of the Seahawks. Everyone's just moving. We now go into year 7, where Scott Mitchell is an 89. He's already 30 years old too. Coles is up to an 87. Chris Olave is a 98. They did lose Cortland Sutton this season. We now have Gooden at receiver 2, who's a 77. Friedman is up to an 80. The offensive line is looking pretty good to keep defenders off of Scott Mitchell's back. We'll see what they can do in year 7, as the team is getting getting better, so they do have a chance of finally making the playoffs this season after 5 years without it, or 4 years without it, I guess. Well, I was wrong. Despite getting better, they still go 6-11 and miss the playoffs in year 7. They had the 15th ranked passing offense, 26th ranked total offense. This Saints team is just not great. We're going to change up their schemes and see if we can change that. Scott ends up throwing for 4,600, almost 4,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions with a 62% completion percentage and an 87.6 passer rating. So he's not doing great touchdown interception wise. Now we move into year 8, where it is his last year under contract in New Orleans. He could leave if he really wants to. We'll see how that goes. He's going to be 31 years old going into this season. So because this is a team he got drafted to, I will not touch the playbooks, but I will be changing the offensive scheme as this is the highest scheme fit they have. I'm going to rock with that and see how it goes. In his 8th season, Scott has already started to regress. He is down to an 86. You get Coles at an 88. Olave's up to a 99. And now you get Coates here to an 82 at receiver 2. And Friedman is up to an 81. Scott Mitchell's career in real life was only 10 years. So if it is pretty short in this, I would not be surprised. In his career, he actually spent 3 years in Miami as Dan Marino's backup. Then played, I think, 5 years in Detroit. Then a year in Baltimore. And then 2 years in Cincinnati, where the only time he was ever a starter was when he was a Detroit Lion. In what is potentially his final season in New Orleans, they go 7-10 and finish at the bottom of the division, but the passing offense was ranked 3rd and total offense was 10th. See, he needs to get out of here. Look at him. He's killing it. He ended up throwing for almost 5,300 yards and 45 touchdowns with a 102 passer rating in what is his best season so far. Yearly awards, okay, that got messed up. What the hell is this? So Devontae Polite is the quarterback of every team here. Yeah, I think this is glitched a little bit. That's cool to see. I've never seen that happen before. Best quarterback, he doesn't even win that as he's in 4th. That might be one of the wildest things I've ever seen. I've never seen a glitch like that where it's just the same guy a million times for every different team. So now that we know Devontae Polite is the GOAT and can play for 7 different teams at a time, let's see what happens going into year 9. He could switch teams. He could stay in New Orleans. Who knows? He could retire the way he's regressing. Going into year 9, he actually is gone. The New Orleans Saints decided to replace him with Kyler Murray. Now we get the fun of going to find out where Scott Mitchell went and what team he decided to play for. I honestly high-key hope it's the Detroit Lions because I just think that'd be perfect. Scott Mitchell is actually now the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that he never played for in real life, even though he played for 4 different teams. Now we go over to the Jags, though. I hope they still have Calvin Ridley, but they probably don't. This team actually still has Trevor Lawrence, so I now have to trade away Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry, Jags fans, but you don't get Trevor Lawrence anymore. You get Scott Mitchell. We're going to trade him to the Chicago Bears. Let's see what we can get. Why not? Let's have some fun with this. Let's see if they'll just give us 2 first-round picks. It worked. Cool. And now you get Scott Mitchell as the starting quarterback as they have Holcomb here as the tight end. You get Rice at receiver 2. You still have Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk. So this team might be a little better off than that Saints team was. So we'll see what the Jags can do going through this season. I really wanted him to go to the Lions, but you know, the Jags had other plans and kind of just swept them up. But I'm assuming the Lions don't have goofball Goff, so they've probably drafted a quarterback along the way that they didn't need Scott Mitchell. In year 9, Scott gets a little closer to the playoffs once more as they go 9-8. They do still miss it because the Texans go 10-7 and the Colts go 10-7. We can take a look at his stats. They had the 12th ranked passing offense as Scott threw for 4,600 yards and 36 touchdowns with a 104 passer rating. Yearly awards, you get Seahawks Jalen Hurts for MVP. I don't see our boy anywhere on here, but Trevor Lawrence, who we just traded to the Bears, is in 10th. AFC best quarterback, you obviously get Joe Burrow. Scott Mitchell is all the way down here in 9th. When he signed with the Jags, it was also a 2-year deal, so he does still have one more season with this team where he should be the starter again next season, and hopefully they can make a playoff push in his 10th career season. And Scott is still here as he's all the way down to an 82. They lost Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk in the same offseason. They did manage to get Treylon Burks, but they also have Rice still, and they got Cole Kmet, so they at least got another guy to replace him, and they have a good tight end duo with Tommy Tremble here as well, but this Harris guy to replace Etienne is not going to be a great fit. My hopes for the playoffs may have just been shit on as Travis Etienne decided to leave, and I was right, losing Travis Etienne really did kill this team as they go 7-10 in the bottom of the division, but they had the number 10 ranked passing offense, but number 30 ranked rushing offense, which killed the team. You get Scott with almost 4,800 yards and 38 touchdowns, a 106 passer rating. Definitely not MVP as it's Justin Herbert, who's on the Jets. Like I said, quarterbacks just never stay where they're meant to. Scott Mitchell was an 8th as he was closer to an MVP as he's regressing heavily. Your best quarterback is Justin Herbert, followed by Scott Mitchell. He was that close to winning best quarterback, so as of right now, the only only award he has won is Offensive Rookie of the Year 10 years ago, and he is now a free agent again as we simulate to next season. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to look at his career stats just in case. For his career, he has 47,000 passing yards, 349 touchdowns, 138 INTs, a 64% completion percentage, and a 98.1 passer rating. All improvements from his real-life stats. This is nearly 3 times his real-life yards, and passer rating is almost 20 better, as I think he was around 75 with his passer rating in real life. Scott does end up re-signing in Jacksonville. He's an 81 overall. They now have a new running back in Graham, who only is an overall better than the old guy. He's a 73. Rice is now receiver 1 as Traylon Burks is gone after 1 season. You have Wolf, who's an 83 at receiver 2, and Cole Kmet regressed by 2 overall going into this season as well. He ends up re-signing on a 1-year deal as he's down to an 81 overall though, so he is winding down his career as he's 11 seasons in. He hasn't made the playoffs since his 2nd season in the league. We are now going into his 11th season, so let's see if after an 8-year gap he can finally make it back and maybe push for a Super Bowl. In year 11, the disappointing career of Scott Mitchell continues as they go 5-12. The passing offense is ranked 17th. The total offense is ranked 22nd. Scotty here threw for 4,400 yards and 29 touchdowns. This is one of his worst seasons so far. His career stats we'll take a look at as he's got 52,000 yards, 378 touchdowns, 149 picks, a 64% completion percentage, and a 97.9 passer rating. I'm going to check those at the end of every season from here on out just in case he does decide to retire at random on us. We're also going to sim to the offseason every time and check the retirements just to see when he does. As you can see, Jags retirements right there. He's not there, but we'll scroll through and just make sure he's not in one of these random ones towards the bottom. He is not, so Scott Mitchell is going to come back for a 12th season, but he is technically a free agent again, so we're going to see where he ends up, see if he stays in Jacksonville or if he decides to go somewhere else. And once again, I'm crossing my fingers and praying for Detroit. Scott Mitchell is once again returning to the Jaguars at a 78 overall. They do have a new running back in Harris. Rice is up to an 86. You still have Wolf at an 84, and Cole Kmet's all the way down to an 80, but at least the running back got better, so maybe there's a chance this year. Like I've been saying for a while, though, I've been hoping for a chance. It's been about 10 years since he made the playoffs at this point. His career is winding down, and much like his real-life career, he's only made the playoffs twice. In his real-life career as a starter, he went to the playoffs twice in 1995 and 1997. That 1995 season is where he set the Detroit Lions record for single-season passing yards and touchdowns. And in this season with the Jags, they go 8-9 in one of his best seasons so far with the team, funny enough, but still missed the playoffs. They had the 12th rated passing offense, the 27th ranked total offense, as Scott at a 79 overall throws for almost 4,800 yards and 29 touchdowns with a 95 passer rating. We'll look at the awards where he obviously doesn't win MVP as it's Dylan Colvin. There's his fellow draftmate Bryce Young, another fellow draftmate CJ Stroud, and he's nowhere to be seen as Justin Herbert jumped teams again as a Dallas Cowboy. Best quarterback, I don't even know if he's going to be on this list, and he's 10th. He is on this list. Look at that. Looking at his career stats again, he's at 56,000 yards, 407 touchdowns, 160 picks with a 64% completion percentage and a 97.6 passer rating. He's having a pretty decent career compared to his real life self, but also instead of 5 years as a starter in real life, he's had 12 in the sim. Oh, and Jay Jettas retires. So does Tua. We'll see if our boy retired as we scroll down to try and find the Jags as Cole Kmet retires, but he does not. So we have another season coming up of Scott Mitchell. He will be a free agent once again though, so will he stay in Jacksonville or will he move on? We'll find out. Scott Mitchell is no longer a Jacksonville Jaguar, thankfully. We'll see where he ended up. Let's see if he retired. Maybe he did. Maybe he just secretly decided to call it a career. Maybe he's a free agent. Maybe he's on a team. Let's go see what happened. Scott Mitchell is now the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. What a weird turn of events as I get to go watch my own team play with Scott Mitchell. I have to do some bad things to my own team. Sorry, Lamar. Sorry to this guy. Lamar's going to get traded and the other guy's going to get cut. We're going to send Lamar to Buffalo for 2 first-round picks. It didn't work. Here, we'll take that guy out. Just give us the 2 first-round picks. There you go. And now Lamar Jackson's gone. And now we got to release the other guy and Scott Mitchell could start. There's Scott Mitchell, is 75 overall. Now the starter of the Steelers. You have Roach here as the running back at an 89. You get Garrison here as a 93 overall starting receiver. GP is still here as an 88 overall with an X factor. And then you have Kaysen right here as a starting tight end. See, this offense is a little bit better than what he had in Jacksonville. Let's see if this team can make the playoffs. Who would have thought? He actually made it 13 to 14 seasons in. I think this is season 14. It might be 13. It is year 13, and after 10 years of not making the playoffs, he is finally back as the Pittsburgh Steelers have gotten here at 9-8. This one last hurrah thing might be for him, but I highly doubt it as he just signed with this team, and yeah, it's for GP. Let's go see how Scott did in his 1 year in Pittsburgh. Maybe he did better than he has in the past as he threw for 4,800 yards and 36 touchdowns with a 101 101 passer rating. That would at least put him in the MVP race, I'm assuming, as there he is in 9th. So he is finally back on that list. Let's go look at his career stats following that season, as he's up to 61,000 yards, 443 touchdowns, 171 picks, 64% completion percentage, and a 97.9 passer rating. Are the Steelers a team that can do it? Are the Steelers a team that are going to win Scott Mitchell a couple playoff games and maybe take him on to a Super Bowl? I highly doubt it, but we will find out. Like I said in the beginning, this is my second time recording this, and it's actually kind of funny that both times it ended up in the same kind of way, just he goes to different teams in each of them. The first time he was drafted by the Packers, then after 8 years or whatever, went to a different team, struggled, went to a different team, and then finally made the playoffs, but he is not meant to do anything in this playoff run. We'll see what happens, as it's looking like the Steelers are gonna win. And just like that, in the wild card round, Scott Mitchell wins the game 24-16. Oh my god, this is the team I just traded Lamar to. Scott threw for 304 and 3 touchdowns, as Lamar threw for 245 and a touchdown. You look at the player stats, you had no interceptions from either quarterback. I want to look at receiving real quick, as you had George Pickens with 125 and a touchdown. You get Garrison with 89 and a touchdown. See, this receiving core is really going to boost him. It would be a very Steelers thing too at 9-8 as like a 7 seed to actually make the Super Bowl, as they now have to play their division-winning Bengals, who went 15-2, and still have Joe Shiesty at quarterback. It is now 31-26. The Bengals have the ball. The Steelers defense needs to make one stop on a 3rd and 1 here. They couldn't do it. Oh no. 4th and 3 though, and they went for it on 4th and 3 and got the first down. And Evan McPherson was the one that threw the pass. It was a fake field goal, and the Steelers are going home in the divisional round in their first season with Scott Mitchell. It was that close. I just wanted to jump in and see him play, but a fake field goal ended up winning the game. You had Scott Mitchell throw for 274 and 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow threw for 217 and 4. There's Evan McPherson's one pass that won them the game. Each quarterback threw a pick. So that could very well be the end of the career of Scott Mitchell, though if it goes like the first time I recorded it, he is going to play another 4 years, basically just going to different teams. As I simmed this offseason, we're basically going to check the retirements, and he probably won't be there, and he'll probably switch teams from the Steelers again. And there was no Scott Mitchell on the retirement list. Once more, like I figured, we're going to sim to next season and see where he ends up. Scott Mitchell did actually re-sign with the team, but they signed another quarterback who's about to just get released. Sorry, buddy. Have a good day. Goodbye. That leaves Scott Mitchell as the lone quarterback on the roster at a 72 overall. We'll take a look at his contract real quick, as he is back on another 1-year deal worth $3.4 million. Let's see how this season goes for him, as the team has lost George Pickens, but other than that, everything else stayed the same. They now have Warner at receiver 2 instead. The luck can't continue for this team, as they do go 9-8, but have the 24th ranked passing offense and missed the playoffs. Oh, and they ended up signing that guy back, so Sean didn't even play, as he threw 1 pass. He had 13 yards. Let's see how his career stats went. I'm imagining this is the end. He has 61,000 yards, 443 touchdowns, 171 interceptions, 64% completion percentage, and contains that 97.9 passer rating. Right there, as you can see, Scott Mitchell has finally called it a career after 14 seasons. He never made it past the divisional round, never could make a championship game. We didn't really get to see much of him playing, but he did have a lot better career than he did in real life. We go into legacy score. He actually ended up 15th all time in that, with no Super Bowls, no championships, but he did win that Rookie of the Year his rookie season, and that is the extent of the awards he won. He didn't get a weekly player, he didn't get an MVP, he didn't win a best quarterback. That was all he got. So I didn't say it in the beginning of the video, but shout out this comment for recommending Scott Mitchell and actually making me do research on a player, making me realize I want to do a lot more research on players every time I do one of these. So if you guys did enjoy, like I always say, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. That choice is always up to you. With that out of the way though, guys, that is going to be it for the video. It has been fun. This was a good one. I will talk to you all later though. Peace out.